Hello and welcome to my review for WWE Money in the Bank 2019. Now, let me just very quickly explain the format of this review and what we'll be talking about, and then we'll just jump right into it, as it were. So, the way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to talk about the match and my thoughts on each match, I should say. If some of the stuff I say isn't worded the best, that's because I've had like 3 or 4 hours sleep and then jumped straight back up in the morning and tried to review this because it was on until 3:45 in the morning over here. So lovely. So yeah, excuses, but yeah, that is the actual reason. But yeah, I'll be talking a little bit about the match and how it went down and my personal thoughts. Then I'll be discussing whether I predicted it right in my predictions video and whether the game predicted it right, and having a little bit of a tally running between me and the game, a little bit of friendly competition. I'll also be talking about if I had put on the minimum bet for each match based on Saturday's odds. I checked the odds at about midday my time on Saturday for all my picked winners, and I want to talk about whether I would have made some money, lost some money, how much either way, all that good stuff. And just my overall impression of the event in general. Without further ado, let's just jump into it. I've done that joke twice now. So, the kickoff show featured the Usos versus Daniel Bryan and Rowan in a non-title match. I totally did not know that. I just saw them facing off. I looked on WWE.com and thought, oh, that's a title match. Definitely. You know, I don't keep up regularly with Raw and SmackDown. Mainly because I don't have a method for watching it over here particularly that's legal and doesn't involve me staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning or watching it a bit in delay, so I tend to just read the results, and I hadn't realised that this was a non-title match. If I'd have known, I would probably have gone with the Usos because then they'd be getting their win back and it would have made loads of sense, but I didn't. I went with Daniel Bryan and Rowan because I thought there's no way they're putting the titles on the Usos, which I'll predict now Daniel Bryan and Rowan will win the title match that they've apparently earned. But yeah, all that aside, the match itself was pretty good. I mean, it was a kickoff show match. They don't tend to give them too long on the kickoff show. It was a decent tag match. They're really hell-bent on building Rowan up looking like a beast at the moment. Like, there was a bit where the Usos kind of knocked him out of the ring and they were super kicking him, and then they stereo super kicked him, and then it took like a stereo suicide dive to knock him actually off his feet. Click like all the way off his feet. They were definitely trying to have Rowan look strong. I can't actually remember who took the pinfall, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say Daniel Bryan. But I'm not sure on that. A few of the details of this will be hazy again because of the lack of sleep and what have you, and because my memory is just not the best. But anyway, so I picked Daniel Bryan and Rowan to pick up the win. I was wrong. The game actually predicted the Usos to win, but I had the titles on the line, so they won the titles, so my bad. But the game gets the result right and goes 1-0 up against me. The betting odds for Daniel Bryan and Rowan to win were actually the favourites at 2-5. I think most of the bookies probably thought the titles were on the line as well. So I would have put £5 on that bet and got nothing back, so I'm currently £5 down at the moment in terms of how my betting has been going. The first match on the main show was the Women's Money in the Bank. Can I just say as well, they did this weird thing where it must have been really awkward live and in the arena because they had Naomi start her entrance and get basically down the ramp during the kickoff show, as they did the outro for the kickoff show, if you like. Then they have to transition over, do the I can't think what the graphics called, what they call it, but the bit where it tells you, you know, what rating the show has, and then they do the then now forever stuff and what have you, and then they did an opening video package for Money in the Bank, and then they eventually cut back to the ring where Naomi was presumably just been stood there. I don't know if anyone was there live that's listening to this, but I'd love to know like how they filled that time, if they even bothered trying. But as far as and then they just started up Naomi's music and she did a bit of a dance in the ring where she already was. I thought it was kind of weird. But yeah, the Money in the Bank, Women's Money in the Bank kicked off the show. There were 2 favourites in this one, which I was surprised to see when I looked it up. There was Mandy Rose and Bayley, and honestly, before, when I was making my predictions before I made the video, I was just like jotting down who I think is going to win each match, so I knew what to talk about. I hadn't considered Mandy Rose to win, but there have been rumblings of a big push for it, and I think the way the match went down, I think that's still a definite possibility. There was an interesting moment where I don't know if Carmella's just like the best actress in WWE, or they managed to do some great improvising, or they got really lucky with two spots coinciding. But there was a point where Mandy tweets Carmella's knee big time. You could tell she just misaimed a kick and caught her right on the side of the knee, and Carmella instantly thought something serious was wrong. Mandy tried to like continue the offense, and Carmella was just like, get away from me, and pushing her away. Like, it seemed totally out of character. Like, it seemed total shoot. Like, it didn't seem like Carmella doing that. It seemed like whatever Carmella's real name was, or is, doing that. And then she ended up going to the back for medical attention. Then later in the match, as Mandy Rose was about to win, then Carmella came down and gave her a whooping, which is what led to the cool spot near the end where Sonya Deville carried her up the ladder for a little bit and almost won it, almost helped her win it. So it all fit together a little too well for me to say 100%. Wait, yeah, that was a shoot. But it seemed pretty legit at the time, so I don't know if it was just great acting or, or what. But Carmella seemed really concerned about her knee, like genuinely concerned. I guess that was the idea, but yeah. In terms of the match as a whole, I thought you can't criticize the women, especially not on Twitter or something. I saw Beth Phoenix calling someone out for bullying online or something when all they'd really said was the women's match was botchy. And it was. I tweeted that it was scrappy, which is being kind. It seemed like a scrappy match. Like it came across a bit like a real fight because it sure as hell didn't look choreographed for the most part. I think everyone was just like, well, they can't all be half a step off, otherwise one person will be like 4 steps off, the other person never meet. But everyone was like an eighth of a step off each other, kind of thing. Everyone was just working on a slightly different time, it seemed, in that match. And yeah, it was really scrappy. Some of the spots didn't quite come together well. That's why I kind of believe the Mandy Rose kick was an accident, because everything was just kind of slightly sloppy, I think is the way to word it. And that kick was just sloppy, and obviously with you catching a knee, then it becomes serious that you've been sloppy because it doesn't take a lot of pressure to damage knee. But yeah, I thought the match as a whole was enjoyable, but it was not like polished and nice and, everyone hitting the spots as they should and what have you. In the end, Sonya Deville put Mandy in her fireman's carry and climbed the ladder with her on her shoulders for like half of the way up, then sort of placed Mandy up near the top, and then they're both there, and then Bayley just comes into the ring and scurries up the other side of the ladder and gives them the meanest look Bayley's capable of. Bless her. Knocks them both off the ladder with just basically a push, like nothing overly spectacular. They both fall off, and Bayley wins the Women's Money in the Bank, as I predicted in your face. Game that predicted Ember Moon. She was only 3-1, by the way, in the betting odds. But I picked the winner, and it was the two favourites that were at the top of the ladder at the conclusion of the match before one pushed the other off. So that was interesting. So Bayley's odds were. Oh, first of all, the score between me and 2K19 was now 1-all. So, go me, regaining that point. And due to the betting odds being 2-1, I would have put £1 on the minimum bet available. And that means I would have won back an extra £2. So I would have got £3 back out of that bet, which leaves me currently £2 down. I'm going to struggle to keep track of this in my mental state, but I'm £2 down at this stage in the show. So I'm not doing terribly, but losing money, as I think most gamblers do. Good job, mine's hypothetical money, eh? Okay, the next match was actually Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio, which I went out on a limb on this one, on the predictions, and it worked out for me. This was another incredibly short match. I'm wondering if there's still some lingering injury on one part or another. This was rough, by the way, for Samoa Joe. There was like a couple of shots. There was the seated senton, and then I think the Enziguri looked like it caught him as well. He was bleeding on a couple of I think he had a busted nose. He had a cut under his eye. He was just roughed up considering how short this match was. But I don't know why they're keeping the matches between Ray and Joe so short on pay-per-view. It's strange. Maybe it's building to something and the dodgy finish that they spent far too long talking about, and it was too obvious. Like it felt a bit contrived, this one. Whereas the one at WrestleMania in the women's main event felt like a botch. This felt really contrived. But either way, Rey Mysterio officially won the match and the title. I predicted that. The game predicted Samoa Joe. So once again, in your face, 2K19. I'm 2-1 up. I don't have a lot to say about the match. It was alright for what it was. It felt very short. I haven't looked at timings of matches or something. I only go off my perception while watching something. It felt very short. It wasn't like as short as their WrestleMania match, obviously, but it was still short. It was still one of the shortest 2 matches. 3, if you count a certain special match that comes later. As I don't know, I'm worried about giving away spoilers. People are listening to the results of the show. But yeah, I don't know if you count that as a specific match, but if you do, then this was probably the 3rd shortest. If not, in terms of pre-organised matches that were pre-announced, this was the 2nd shortest match, I think, which was pretty crazy. Yeah, Ray won. He was 7-4 odds, so I would have had to put £4 on him to be able to place a bet. But I would have got my £4 back plus an extra £7, so £11. I was on -2, so... Oh no, wait, that's not how you count it, is it? Wait. I only made 2 profit off the women's Money in the Bank match, because... Yeah, I didn't account for the fact that I'd put £1 in to get the pound back out and then made 2. So I'm actually on -3. In this one, I made 7 profit. So from -3, that takes me up to £4. So I'm actually making money at this point in the show. Quite pleased with myself, especially with the fact that Ray was not the favourite in this match. Joe had 2-5 odds. So... interesting. Now that seems to be a bit of a curse. There was 2 people with 2-5 odds as the favourites, and the opponents had 7-4, and both of the people with 7-4 won. The Usos were the other one, and Ray. Anyway, so yeah, I'm £4 up. Let's try and remember that in my hypothetical betting situation. Next, I believe, was the cage match between The Miz and Shane McMahon. That I thought The Miz was going to win. The game thought The Miz was going to win. Seemingly, I would imagine most people thought The Miz was going to win and this feud was going to end. But they've decided to prolong it, and none of us could have seen that coming. I guess, aren't we heading... I mean, they're heading to Saudi Arabia, where the best in the world was crowned, so it might finish there. But they've also got... Have they got Extreme Rules coming up? That's usually before Money in the Bank, so have they just swapped them? I can't remember what the next pay-per-view is. But if that's coming up, then maybe they even have the blow-off there, because, you know, it's a ready-made feud for a really, really brutal match type, last man standing or something. With the story being Shane keeps getting constant fluky wins. So yeah, it was another fluky win. It was a decent cage match. It wasn't the best cage match of all time. You know, it was alright. Shane took a big bump off the top where Miz basically flipped him into the ring when he'd been trying to escape. And then he took a reasonable bump. I mean, because of how he held onto his shirt and dropped down, it wasn't really that far. But yeah, the ending basically came where Miz was supposed to be left holding Shane's shirt, and Shane drops out of it and falls from the top of the cage to win. However, they didn't quite come off, so Shane fell with his shirt just over his head. Which is probably pretty scary when you think about it. And his shirt over his head and then just feels him slip from Miz. And he's like, I don't actually know right at this moment how far from the floor I am. But yeah, I didn't predict that. Miz was 1-5 on to win this match. I thought that was a sure thing. I really did. So I lost £5 there, so I'm back to having lost £1 in total. And the game was wrong, I was wrong, so we're still on 2-1 in terms of scorekeeping between me and the game. There's a lot to keep track of, and it's not easy when you're tired. Up next was the Cruiserweight Championship match between Arya, I'm reliably informed by the commentators on the show, Daivari is how he pronounces it, sorry, Arya, Daivari, and Tony Nese. This was the... Yeah, this was the worst odds, if you like, if you want to make money, I should say, on the card. Tony Nese was 1-6 on to win. Like, he was almost I mean, there was the Miz and Becky Lynch against Lacey Evans were 1-5, and Seth was 2-9. But 1-6 is 2-12 is way more likely than that in the bookies' eyes. So I mean, I agreed. I went with Tony Nese. The game actually picked Daivari, and I was right. So 3-1. Now let's talk about the match, and let's specifically talk about the crowd. I don't know if it's. I saw a few people tweeting and criticising the crowd, so maybe it was a crowd issue. I think there's a bit of desensitization these days to really, really impressive feats of athleticism. Like, and I think I tweeted about this on WWE Beza, because I was kind of live tweeting, but I was trying to make a point of not live tweeting much during the matches and tweeting mostly in between. But that sometimes fell by the wayside, but whatever. The point is, I feel like there's a bit of this thing now where, where people are saying all these video games like Grand Theft Auto and all these really violent movies desensitize us to violence. I think all these great athletic wrestlers are desensitizing us to what is really a very impressive athletic feat. Tony Nese had Daivari on the outside, and he ran to the ropes, and he jumped, and he did a corkscrew because he landed facing forwards again, and a full flip over the top rope, and just hit Daivari. Obviously, kind of Daivari gave way as he was about to hit him, kind of thing, so he didn't take any momentum off him. But he hit Daivari, in theory, and then landed just clean on his feet outside the ring, and just walked out of it. And I was like, that was incredible, and there was barely a pop. Now, I know the fans don't always get the most invested for the Cruiserweight title matches and stuff like that, but that move looks damn impressive, and I think we just see too much of it. Not from the perspective that I think it's going to change, or even that it should change, and matches should go back to being like the 80s, where it's all headlocks and bear hugs. I don't think that at all. I just think we see, what I mean when I say too much of it, is too much for us to really truly appreciate how incredible it is every time it happens. It's crazy good stuff. Like, everyone went mad over Ricochet doing it when he went in NXT, when he jumped over the top rope, landed, and just walked up to Velveteen Dream and squared up to him. This was that, but with a corkscrew in it. He did a full 360 rotation as well, like sideways, like a barrel roll. In effect, he spun on 360. It's hard to explain, but yeah, this was more, and it just got nothing. It got nothing, no reaction. Then he rolled him back in the ring and did a 450 splash, which I know pretty much everyone can do a 450 splash these days. But have you ever tried just doing a somersault? Like, so to do an extra quarter of a turn and land it in a very specific place where you're not going to land your knees on your opponent's head and nearly kill them, or, mess up and hurt yourself or anything like that. It's incredible, and we don't appreciate it enough, in my opinion. There was barely any reaction to those two spots back to back, and I was gobsmacked at, first of all, the first spot, and second of all, the lack of reaction. But anyway, Tony Nese picks up the win with the running Nese. So I had to put £6 on. I get those £6 back, and I get an extra £1. So I'm dead even at this point in the card. There was no point in me betting on anything before this point. I'm dead even, dead heat. Up next was the Raw Women's Championship match between Becky Lynch. Oh, by the way, I didn't write down when segments came in. I know Becky Lynch did an interview, I think. Or was that on the kickoff show? I don't know. It's all the segments kind of run into one, but most of this was back-to-back in-ring segments. There was a couple of segments with Sami Zayn taking him out of the Money in the Bank match, which I'm not sure what that's about. But there was a couple of segments thrown in, but I'm not going to be talking too much about those, because Sami Zayn was good in them. Well, in the one where he was conscious. And Triple H, Triple H knows how to talk, but it was just Sami Zayn being scared of Braun, which is a natural story progression. It's not that noteworthy. Anyway, yeah, so the next match was Becky Lynch defending the Raw Women's Championship against Lacey Evans. This felt a bit like the Women's Money in the Bank match again. Like, these two were a little bit off, maybe don't have a lot of chemistry together. Maybe it's an experience on Lacey Evans' part. Becky Lynch isn't the best in ring. I don't think she's bad by any stretch, but out of the women, there's quite a few that are better in ring purely between the ropes, not character work, not mic work, not Twitter game, but just purely how they wrestle a wrestling match. there's quite a lot of women that are better than her. Charlotte is better than her. Sasha and Bayley, as we've seen in NXT, when they're let loose, are better than Becky Lynch, in my opinion, in the ring. Natalia's better. I'm sure there's loads more. Ember Moon, Asuka, Kairi Sane. Like, I'm not even sure if she's a top 10 in ring in WWE at the moment in terms of women. But she's a hell of a character and she's mega over. And I think he even tweeted out that it's quite amazing how over she still is, despite how badly they seem to be doing with her booking constantly. So, yeah, she... I predicted her to pick up the win. So did the game by disqualification, which I thought was interesting, but the win was a clean thing. So if it comes down to a draw, I'm claiming I'm taking half a point off the game for getting the method wrong there, and that means I'll win. Like, that sounds like good rigging to me. But yeah, the match was okay. It was decent. I didn't hate it by any stretch. I just felt like they were a little step off again. Becky Lynch obviously picks up the win. I think pretty much everyone knew she was going to retain against Lacey Evans. The odds were... so we both gain a point at the moment, unless I have to take half one off at the end. So that should take us to 3-2 to me, I believe. Oh no, Tony Nese. Wait, hang on, I've lost track of the score already. Usos was 1-0 to the game. Women's Winning the Bank was 1-1. Joe Ray was 2-1 to me. No one got the Miz Shane right. 3-1 to me. Okay, so it's 4-2 to me, in fact, after this match. Wow, I'm good at this. And the betting, it was odds were 1-5 on Becky Lynch, so I had to put a minimum bet of £5 on, so I got £1 back. So I'm +1 at the moment, +£1. Then, in some of the best heel work of the night, Charlotte Flair comes out, doesn't even do a full entrance, just storms down to the ring, like not running, but she power walked down to that ring. Massive grin on her face, golds Becky Lynch into the match. Obviously, Becky's character cannot possibly say no to that and say, no, we're doing it later. So she gets in. And they have a decent little match for the SmackDown Women's Championship that results in Lacey Evans getting involved, hitting Becky with the women's right, and then Charlotte picking up the win with a big boot, of all things. I'm not sure how that's ended up being a finisher of Charlotte's. Like, it's just a big boot, and it wasn't particularly close to contacting either. It didn't look like a particularly rough one or anything. It was nowhere near Becky's head. So, anyway, Charlotte Flair picks up the SmackDown Women's Championship, and then they carry on the beatdown in the ring. Charlotte and Lacey carry on the beatdown. Charlotte directing traffic, and the fans predicted it. I predicted it. Bayley comes down. Now, I wasn't sure if Bayley was just going to chase them off and then cash in on Becky for the Raw Women's Championship. Because if the Usos can have a shot at the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, which apparently they've now earned by beating Daniel Bryan and Rowan, then Bayley can be Raw Women's Champion, right? And I thought that'd be an interesting way to keep playing the wild card rule with a necessary wild card each week, because one of your champions is on the wrong show. I thought that'd be kind of interesting, but it would have been quite a short term story. Thinking about it, it would have been interesting for the short term, but you know, eventually Bayley's reign would have had to be quite short because she'd have had to go back to SmackDown and the title would have had to go back to Raw. So maybe not the best idea. But yeah, Bayley makes a save, stays face, but does a Edge style cash in. So that's interesting. You don't see a lot of face Edge style cash ins, like opportunistic cash ins. But because Charlotte's so hated by the WWE fans, it worked. Bayley wins the SmackDown Tag Team Championship with a Macho Man elbow off the top. And yeah, I don't know what else to really say about that. It was cool. The fans were really into that. She was in the crowd and celebrating. And one thing I want to point out that I just forgot to mention, the women's Money in the Bank match, I knew when Bayley made her entrance that I'd predicted right. She had so much win face, and if you don't know what win face is, like, lose face is more common, where someone comes out and yeah, they're doing the usual entrance and they're talking to the crowd and what have you, but you can just tell in their face they know they're coming out to lose and they're not happy about it. And Bayley had so much more swagger than she normally has in her entrance. She didn't even have win face, she had win body. She had win body language. Like, she was just, oh, I knew she was winning. And I think she knew at that point she was winning the title tonight as well. Like, looking back, that makes perfect sense. I knew when she was coming down, I was like, okay, I've picked the winner correctly here. So yeah, I just wanted to go back to that. But yeah, I'm going to give myself half a point here. In predictions as well, because I predicted Bayley to cash in on Becky Lynch after the SmackDown Women's tag team, the SmackDown Women's Championship match, and she cashed in after the SmackDown Women's Championship match and won the title. I predicted her to leave with the belt, so no, I'm gonna give myself a full point there. So because it's my video, damn it, it's my rules. So the game gets a point for predicting Charlotte correctly, so that brings it to 4-3, but I get a point for predicting Bayley correctly. The game had a cash-in right there. I mean, it would have been Ember Moon, but it still had a cash-in opportunity. I had AI cash-in switched on. Chose not to predict a cash-in, so misses out on the point there, I'm afraid. 5-3 to me. Keep that 2 cushion going. In terms of betting, I had to bet £7 on this. Because the odds were 4-7 in Lynch's favour. Charlotte was 13-10. So either way, I had to put quite a big bet on. Relative to the other bets, I should say. I don't think £7 is a huge amount of money, but relative to the minimum bet of £1, it's quite significant, 7 times greater. So I was £1 up, so now I'm £6 down again. So damn you, Charlotte Flair. Once again. Always, damn you, Charlotte Flair. The next match after all that kerfuffle was Roman Reigns versus Elias, which I believe was the shortest match. Maybe even including the Money in the Bank cash-in. I don't know. Depends exactly when the bell rang, to be honest, and on each one. But before the match, we saw Roman Reigns walking backstage. Elias sneaks up behind him and takes him out, smashing a guitar over his back. Then Elias comes out, does one of his classic promos. Man, Elias is just, I think I tweeted it out, he's a flipping treasure. He just is. He's just amazing. He's so good. His heel work's so good that he gets all the boos, but the fans just instantly come back round to him because he's just so good. He's like, I'll get so much grief for this comparison, like if I make it too publicly, which, hey, YouTube. He's this generation's Rock. He's the mic guy of this generation. He really is. He's got his catchphrases. He's got the crowd in the palm of his hand. He can do heel or face without changing his character a whole lot. But he's also perfectly capable, I believe, of changing his character a whole lot if requested of him. He's this generation's Rock, and I think we will. He doesn't get booked the same, but in terms of talent, I think we will look back on him on the same sort of level. It's just people say, "Oh, he's not that good yet." It's because you're in the moment and you've got nostalgia goggles on for The Rock. The Rock was great. I'm not doing down The Rock at all, but I think Elias will be same sort of level as The Rock when all's said and done. Anyway, as he's finished celebrating having put down the big dog, as he gets to the top of the ramp, Roman Reigns runs out and Superman punches him, drags him down to the ring or fires him at the ring or whatever he did. I can't remember how they got back to the ring. Gets him in the ring, spear, 1, 2, 3. Right, I predicted Reigns to win. The game predicted Reigns to win. The World's mother predicted Reigns to win. Elias's mother predicted Reigns to win. Everyone knew Reigns was going to win this. Okay? The problem is, I don't know if this was an oversight on Reigns' part or if he was told to act like this, and in which case it was an oversight on that person's part, Vince, creative, the agent, I don't know. He didn't sell the fact that he'd just been leathered by a guitar like 5 minutes before. Like, I imagine that stings. I know it's a gimmick guitar, but if we pretend it's not a gimmick guitar because wrestling's real for a second, if we get into kayfabe, getting hit over the back with a guitar would hurt. So why did he have no... He didn't reach up to his neck, he didn't wince, he didn't do anything. It was like he was completely fresh. So yeah, the kind of Superman booking Roman Reigns again, it's like they're determined to get the crowd to turn back on him. Again, like, I know that's not the idea, but it's like they didn't learn them from the mistakes and their opportunity that, let's face it, no one wanted them to get this opportunity. No one wanted Roman Reigns to have to go off with leukemia. But what that gave them when he came back fit and well was an opportunity to, he was being cheered, and he's still being cheered, by most people, but I heard a smattering of boos. And you put him against someone super popular like Elias, and you have him squash him, no selling a guitar shot from 5 minutes before. Because the camera shot went from Elias hitting Reigns with the guitar to Elias walking out to the arena. There was no match in between these segments. I remember where that segment was because it was one fluid, flowing segment into the match. Yeah, are you trying to make us hate him again? Like, I don't think this incident on its own is enough, but it's indicative of the fact that they haven't learnt the lesson about Superman booking Roman Reigns. And part of the problem was the opportunities he's been given, which hasn't happened yet. But at some point, he's going to get in the WWE title picture over on SmackDown. And it's going to be back to the status quo, and he's probably going to be booed out of buildings again. And it's such a shame because when he was allowed to just go out there and be Joe and just be himself and talk to the crowd, he seemed a really nice, relatable, and you always hear how humble and hard-working, and he seems like such a babyface in real life. He really does. He sounds like such a great character that you could really get behind. And then they make him be Roman Reigns, who isn't likable, but he's supposed to be a face. Really annoying. I don't get why they can't book him. I don't get it. It can't be that difficult. If you're going to book him how he is, he needs to be heel, because the fans are going to turn on him, so you need to plan for him to turn heel. Or you book him face, but much more likeable and much less Superman-y. Trust me, it's not a good idea to have him be Superman again. Anyway, I predicted correctly, the game predicted correctly. As I said, the world and his mother predicted correctly. It was 5-3, right? So it's 6-4 now to me. The betting odds were 2-7, so I had to put £7 on. I get my £7 back, and then I make an extra £2, so I was on -6. So now I'm on -4. I've still lost £4 at this point. In money, not in weight. Up next was the Universal Championship match between AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. Match of the night, simple as. This was really good. This was, I think I even tweeted out, this is what they should have done with Styles Owens, Styles Nakamura, Styles Joe. You had these great foils for AJ, these great heels. I mean, Nakamura's face going into the feud, but heel for most of it. And they just kept muddying it with all these stupid storylines. Whereas all they really needed to do was, I know Seth isn't heel, but the same principle applies. They could have muddied it down with stupid storyline stuff. But what they actually did was said, go out there and have a good match. And they did. They had a really good match. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. The reverse superplex into the slightly lifting reverse DDT was pretty cool. The curb stomp into Styles Clash was just ridiculous. That was amazing. Like, well done for even thinking of that. Never mind actually managing to pull it off. That cannot have been easy to time. Great match. I think everyone knew Seth was winning. In fact, his odds were 2-9. He was actually more likely to win this match than Reigns was to beat Elias, according to the bookies on Saturday, which is crazy. I have just realised, though, I wrote AJ in the result column. It's a good job I actually remember the match, because I was just like writing down who won and keeping tabs of money and stuff, like that hypothetical money. I actually wrote down AJ in the win column when, no, Seth won. I predicted it. The game predicted it. 7-5. To me. Sorry, I just had a little thought where I thought I'd been counting wrong, but I've not. 7-5 to me in terms of predictions now. So in your face game, still 2 ahead. The betting odds, as I said, were 2-9, so I had to put £9 on this, 9 hypothetical pounds on this match, and I got 2 of them back. I got all 9 back, and then I got 2 profit. So I was on -4. Now I've only lost £2. So happy days. Happy days. It's building to a nice crescendo, this. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Up next was the WWE up next was a segment with Lucha House Party coming out for an apparent 6-man tag team match. Then Lars Sullivan came out and beat up some minorities. After everything that's been going around the internet recently, probably wasn't the best I mean, maybe that's just, it's not WWE doing it on purpose, it's just WWE being tone deaf. And I don't personally have a problem with it, because I understand it's just them being tone deaf, not them doing something bad. But oh, they need to hire someone who's not tone deaf to look at this sort of thing. That was just ridiculous. Surely there was, without meaning to be that guy, surely there was a white jobber that could have taken a beating from Lars Sullivan if you wanted to make him look monstrous for this. Not a good look. Not a good look, WWE. Anyway, onwards. WWE Championship match. Kofi Kingston, Kevin Owens. I love Kevin Owens. He's such a great heel. Everyone loves him. Everyone knows he's amazing. He can still elicit such an angry reaction from the crowd when he wants to in the middle of a match. Best trash talker in the business at the moment. Like in-ring trash talker. He's just great. And these two put on a hell of a match that would have seemed a hell of a lot better if it wasn't almost directly following AJ and Seth. It was not quite up to that level, but it was a really good match all the same. Predictably, Kofi retains the title. I predicted it, the game predicted it. What were we on? 7-5, so now we're on 8-6. The game cannot catch me now because there's only one match left to discuss after this. So I win predictions. Regardless of who wins Money in the Bank, I win predictions in your face. 2K19, you suck, computer. The betting odds were 1-2, so I had to put £2 on this. Got my £2 back because I predicted correctly. And I gained an extra pound, so I'm now £1 down. So going into the Money in the Bank match, which I was fairly confident? I was fairly confident, but I had this niggling feeling at the back of my mind that they're just never going to pull the trigger on Drew properly. That's just the feeling I have in my head these days. And that was bugging me during even the entrances for the men's Money in the Bank match. Was like, I was trying to think who else could win it, like, believably. And I was thinking, surely it needs to be Drew. But they just seem so reluctant to pull the trigger on him, despite how good he is in literally every way. I don't get it. But yeah, I was feeling reasonably confident I might finish on a profit. However, WWE had some other ideas. And let me just say, first of all, the start of the match, Randy Orton is just brilliant. I love Randy Orton. I know people don't always appreciate the slow, methodical style. It's not, doing flips over the top rope and landing on your feet and all that spectacular stuff, so it kind of gets people saying, oh, it's slow and boring and plodding. He's a great psychological wrestler. He's great at his style. He's great at it. He really is. And he was just waiting for opportunities and grabbing people and throwing them at the announce table. He took 3 people out without getting touched because he was just picking his spot. He immediately just left the ring. It's worth noting, Sami Zayn was found dangling upside down from a trellis backstage by his leg, unconscious, so he wasn't in this match. Braun had been banned from the arena, so he didn't replace Sami Zayn in this match. So there was only 7 of them, so 6 of them paired off into 3 pairs fighting, and Randy Orton left the ring. Basically was the start of the match, which was great. Then he took 3 of them out and then noticed an opportunity to climb the ladder and then got involved in the match proper. The match itself, it's what you expect. What did Finn Balor do to upset the road agent before this match when they were laying out the match? What did he do? Because he took so many. He was one of the victims of Randy Orton on the table, which is fair play. But he took so many, really bad-looking bumps. Ricochet took a rough one to the ladder bridge on the outside as well. But Finn Balor took a few where I was just like, ooh, no. Stop doing this to Finn Balor, please. He holds a championship. Do you want to have to vacate the title? I can't remember what all of them were. There was the one where he got sunset flip powerbombed onto a ladder bridge that Andrade set up wrong between the wrong rung of the ladder and the bottom rope, or the middle rope. There was that. There was one onto a ladder on the ground, and then someone else got thrown onto him. There was just carnage, and most of it involved Finn Balor for some reason, being on the receiving end. So I wrote him off pretty early for being a potential winner, because you don't tend to give someone that many of the huge spots if they're going to win, because you're risking injury and having to change the winner of the match on the fly in all your future booking, like WWE Future Book. But yeah, so I kind of wrote him off in my mind as the match was progressing. But yeah, he took a beating. There was a spot where Ali did a Spanish fly off one ladder with Andrade stood on the other ladder. And Ali's ladder was not set up right. Andrade spotted it and managed to stomp one of the cross pieces in, like they open up the ladder and there's like another thing unfolding, and when that's flat, the ladder is stable, and it wasn't flat, so the ladder could have just folded and they could have just fell off and broke the necks basically if they were mid Spanish fly when the ladder decided to collapse. Luckily, Andrade stamped one side flat, so half of that ladder was stable, and the ladder that Andrade was on was stable, so kudos to him. But I was like, oh, they're going to do this spot, and I was just watching thinking, I just hope the ladder doesn't give way. Like, because they could just both land clean on the head and break both the necks. Like, that could have happened if the ladder would have just folded. As Ali pushed off it, the ladder could have just folded. So, and that would have taken away all the momentum needed for the flip, and they would have been in a spot of bother. Luckily, that didn't happen. Now, the game predicted Ali to win. And, for a second I was like, wait, is the game right? And I thought, right, when the game got that, I thought, actually, Ali would be a great winner because Kofi took his spot that he lost when he picked up an injury in Elimination Chamber, and that led to Kofi Mania. I think I talked about this in the predictions video. That led to this whole Kofi Mania and Kofi being WWE champion thing. So it would have been a really interesting story to have the guy whose spot he basically has at the moment carrying around Money in the Bank, chasing his spot. I don't know if you even need to turn either of them heel, but turn Ali heel and having him be really bitter about Kofi taking his spot would have been a way to go. Or he could have just cashed in and said, right, man to man, face to face, let's see who deserves this spot. I don't know. They could have done it a few ways. So I was like, actually, I'm not even mad if Ali wins this. I would have been hella surprised. And then something happened. Drew McIntyre didn't win. Me and the game were both wrong. We finished on 8-6. What happened was a fantastic finish. And before you click off the video and burn your computer, because I just said that, and hunt me down and shoot me with a crossbow, bear with me. It was a fantastic finish. I have been pitching that finish to a match of someone coming down who's not in the match and winning and taking the briefcase for ages. Any ladder match, Money in the Bank especially, but any ladder match for a championship. Why doesn't someone just come and steal the ladder when everyone's down? Steal the title or the briefcase when everyone's down? Because the match ends when someone brings the title down. We know that. They're not going to go, hang on, let's take that off you and put it back up there. So there's nothing. It's a really, truly unique match because you can't just run into a normal match and pin someone because the referee will be like, what are you doing? You're not in the match, I'm not counting. The ladder match doesn't require the referee to count or to approve of you winning for you to win. You just have to get the briefcase. So I have thought this would be a fantastic ending to a ladder match for so long. And then they do it with Brock Lesnar. Which, to be fair, did you see him run down the ramp? Oh, he was up for this, wasn't he? Good grief. He ran down, he threw a ladder at a cameraman, he climbed in the ring, he threw Mustafa Ali at wherever he landed. And then he climbed up, he set up the ladder really carefully, so he was sat right. He climbed up, he had a massive grin on his face, and yeah, the show went off the air pretty quick time before the vulgar chant started, I would imagine. Again, if you were there live, let me know. Right, I know exactly why they did it with Brock. I know exactly why. Because Brock is ratings, right, Vince? Brock makes people tune in. He's a big name. People tune in when Brock Lesnar's involved. Wrong. I had this debate with someone on Facebook last year sometime. And I personally did the research. I went back through the previous year, so 2017's Raw ratings. And also a list of all the Raws that Brock Lesnar appeared on. And there was no pattern. He didn't bring ratings up. He didn't drop them either. There was no correlation that I could see at a reasonably quick glance, but I had all the numbers in front of me, and it wasn't like all the top. He made like, I think it was like 15 or 10 or so. It was between 10 and 15 appearances on Raw that year, which is pathetic. Yeah. He made those appearances, and it's not like they were the top 10 or 15. There was a few up near the top, but I mean, Brock Lesnar tends to show up near WrestleMania season, so there was a lot of bias towards WrestleMania season. But the shows within WrestleMania season that Brock wasn't on didn't perform any worse, and the shows the rest of the year with Brock on didn't perform any better. And in fact, one of the shows Brock was on was like the second, and he was pre-announced for it, by the way, it wasn't a surprise appearance, it was like the second lowest rated show of the year. Brock does not actually make people tune in at all. This is not my personal opinion. This is based on a year's worth of study of fact, of numbers, of ratings. A show with Brock Lesnar on gains no extra viewers than the same show without Brock Lesnar on it. Fact. End of. There's no such thing as a draw in WWE anymore. WWE is the draw. People watch WWE because they watch WWE, not because a certain person is going to appear. Maybe a few people might tune in for someone like The Rock. Some people that don't watch anymore, if it was announced that The Rock's going to be on Raw, might tune in. Beyond that, probably not. Probably not going to move the needle. Anywho, yeah, why would you do that? Okay, another thing that bugged me was the classic trope where Ali was on top of the ladder. He was face to face, like literally his head was as high as the top of the briefcase, so he could easily unhook it. Brock Lesnar's music hits, and he just stops. I'm not being funny. I would just take the briefcase and run. I would take the briefcase, scurry down the ladder as quick as I dare, jump down from as high up as I dare, and leave the ring on the opposite side to where Brock Lesnar's coming from, on the opposite side from the apron, and then play chicken with him around the ring until I get to the ramp side and run. That's what I would do. But Ali instead decided to, with his hand still on the briefcase, I believe, stare at Brock Lesnar running down the ramp into the ring and pushing the ladder over, or grabbing him and throwing him out. I think he pushed the ladder over. It's ridiculous. It's like, it's not believable at all that someone would just stop. And it's like when Kofi was going to sign his contract to face Daniel Bryan for the WWE title, and Vince replaced him with Kevin Owens. And he had all that time to just sign the contract and say, no, screw you, Vince. Yeah, I'm in the match now. Haha. But he didn't. And it's like, why? Why would you not do that? I would. I'd act quickly when rushed with something like that. Not very, very slowly. But whatever. I suppose they had to make it dramatic. They had to have Ali sat basically undeniably winning the match before they played Lesnar's music. Otherwise, it would have been like, what? So, it begs the question. I mean, first of all, the world title holders have got to be simultaneously not very happy about this and very happy about this. Not very happy because they got Brock Lesnar trying to cash in on them, which does he really need an unfair advantage? Happy about it because he doesn't show up on those shows, so they're pretty safe on like 9 out of 10 shows. They're pretty safe from a cash in. So, yeah, swings and roundabouts. Anyway, the match itself was good. The ending was good. The choice of person to do it was terrible. But it is what it is. We've got yet another Brock Lesnar world title reign to look forward to now, guys. Bet you can't wait, can you? The only way this would be acceptable is if his new deal was a lot less limited dates, like he'd signed on quasi full time. Like, I'm not talking house show loop and something ridiculous like that Brock could never agree to, but defending the title at every pay-per-view and appearing on at least half of the shows in between. Which, with Fox's money banding about, maybe Vince did throw even more money at him for that for some reason, because he's delusional and thinks Brock actually makes him money. Yeah, it was a good. It was all good. It was just the wrong person. Sami Zayn could have come down and done that, and I reckon the crowd would have gone mad. I mean, the crowd went... Right, here's the thing. They got a pop for Lesnar's music because no one was expecting it. But I think pretty much anyone's music would have got a pop at that point because everyone was like, what's going on? Kind of thing, and jumped to their feet and made noise. I think a lot of people would have got a pop when they brought the briefcase down as well, which Brock did not. That I heard, anyway. No discernible pop through the TV that I noticed. Sami Zayn would have, if he'd have been like, hey, I got myself down, like, I'm good to go. Like, it's been a while since that segment where I was unconscious backstage. Roman Reigns got hit with a guitar and recovered within 5 minutes. Sami Zayn gets strung up upside down, presumably by Brock Lesnar, by the way. Presumably we now believe that Braun knew nothing about that. Brock did it. Yeah, but Sami Zayn, that was it like halfway through the show? It was like a couple of hours before. And he still wasn't recovered. So Sami Zayn, not as tough as Roman Reigns, confirmed. Nowhere near as tough as Roman Reigns. Like, not even a fraction as tough as Roman Reigns. Crazy. So, yeah, Braun. If it had Braun, wow, yeah, people would have been all behind that. I mean, okay, he's already won it once, so maybe not as good as Sami Zayn, but it still would have been better than Brock. I'm trying to think who else could have done it. I don't know, Edge. AJ Styles wants another shot at Seth Rollins, so he comes and steals the Money in the Bank briefcase. That'd have been cool. Kevin Owens wants another shot at Kofi Kingston, comes and steals the Money in the Bank. I reckon you could do a top 10 better options than Brock Lesnar video for that. I really do. I really do think you could. But it is what it is. It happened. What can we do? Leave a like. Oh, let's talk about the show as a whole. I enjoyed this show. Money in the Bank's one of my favourite shows because of the unpredictability factor. And we got a same night cash in, which was reasonably predictable, but you can only ever be reasonably predictable with Money in the Bank cash-ins. Like, you're in the moment predictable. Like, when it was happening, it was very obvious that what was going to happen, where it was leading. But at the start of the night, it's not necessarily predictable. I did call it. I did call it as a potential thing they could do. My vision was slightly different than what happened, but still, I kind of called it. But what? I'm tired. But the show was. But the appeal of Money in the Bank is the unpredictability, and the men's Money in the Bank shows how it was unpredictable. Miz and Shane was unpredictable. I don't think anyone called that. And then Money in the Bank cash in at the start of the night has an air of unpredictability about it. So it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of the in-ring action. Some of the women's matches were pretty sloppy, especially considering what we expect of the women. One thing I would say is the women's Money in the Bank match looked like an accident waiting to happen. Like, Natalia's good, Naomi's athletic. I'm not sure if I'd qualify her as a great wrestler though. But then you had like Mandy Rose, who's not known for being an in-ring technician, Carmella, who's not known for being an in-ring technician. There was someone else. Bayley's really good. Emma Moon's really good. Nikki Cross is really good, but quite frantic, which some of the others might not be able to deal with, some of the less experienced ones. Who else was in it? Can't even remember. But the point I'm trying to make is, in a car crash style match like that, you're almost asking for trouble putting inexperienced people in it, like not in ring generals kind of thing. So the women's matches were a bit sloppy. The men represented really well, I felt, on this show. I don't think there was a real dud. I mean, the Reigns Elias match barely qualified as a match. It was basically a segment with a pinfall. But taking that out of the equation, and the Ray Joe match was a bit too short to really judge too strongly. But yeah, it was a really good show for the men. Not so much for the women, but we know they're capable of bouncing back, so we'll see next show, won't we? Well, not next show, because that's Super Showdown, and they're not allowed there. But we won't be covering that anyway, because A, I don't really care enough about it, and B, it just feels dirty. It just feels a bit dirty, to be honest, to do like, oh, predictions, I'm excited for this show. I might watch it. I'm not saying I'll kibosh it completely. I might watch it just out of curiosity. I've watched the other two Saudi shows. I know some people completely disapprove of that. You do you, I'll do me. That's fine. But I don't think I want to be like drawing attention to my channel using it. I don't think that's a good idea. Not only not a good idea, but not something I want to do. Anyway, speaking of drawing attention to my channel, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, this review of Money in the Bank. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of the show and some of the decisions, what you thought was right, wrong, good, bad, ugly. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here and share with your friends if you think they would enjoy what I do. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching. As always, I've been Ibeza, you've been amazing, and I'll see you next time.